homes. I make no guarantees that you won't hear a goat.
Okay, so I'm back. Camo shade is dried. It looks very matte, not very glossy at all. That's kind of how the camo shade is. But when you put the next layer over it, it'll be a lot more see-through. Right now it just kind of looks kind of dark and dirty and frosted. But the next layer will bring the gloss back once it dries and also add a little bit of translucency back to it. So for this layer, I'm just gonna go everywhere, not only where I put the camo shade, so it kind of all builds up. I did not put the camo shade where there's a lighter area. Again, I didn't really want the camo shade to darken it down for those. I wanted to be able to kind of make it look like it's shining through the muck, so to speak. So, the water, in case you didn't see in one of the previous videos, the stuff I'm using is this golden soft gel gloss. It goes on with kind of the consistency of like thick egg white or shampoo, I guess. And dries clear. It's thick enough that you can use a brush to put it on. Shrinks quite a bit as it dries, but that's why I use 3 different layers over time, letting it dry for a day or so between each. And then you get like kind of a watery looking effect. It's clear, so you'll see down through it to whatever original layer you would put on. If anyone has any questions, make sure you click through from where I shared it down all the way to the actual live video itself. Otherwise, I won't see your question or comment until after I'm done and go check all the comments on those shared posts. The glow effect in the back worked out okay. Kind of just looks like a bit of the lights shining down on it. Very soft and fuzzy edges, and that's kind of what you want on a glow effect. Actually used the model for the first time in a game yesterday. One on scenario against a Haley 1 list with all the gun mages. He murdered a lot of Banes. I started the game with 36 and at the end I had 7. But I was able to rush up on him with the speed that she gives. Extra 3 inches of running or 2 inches of charging will push them down the field a lot quicker over a couple of turns. And he ended up sitting back and shooting and kind of giving up on this scenario. Lock the phone down, pick it back up. Fun game. I don't know that she personally had a huge impact other than the spells that she was casting. So she did end up kind of closing out the game with the cannons because I ran a Bane up next to Anastasia, who was the last model contesting one of the zones, and shot my own Bane and boosted and killed Anastasia, so. But for the most part, she kind of hang back. It's hard to fit her and the Wraith engine and let the bubble hit a whole bunch of things. I think the best configuration I found was putting the Wraith engine kind of in the middle of the cloud of Banes and her right behind it. And typically everything except the very edges was covered by both of the armor buffs. Dargoth kind of right behind the Wraith engine. Pretty much could only cover one side or the other with him, but I was able to cover about 2/3 of the Banes, 2 out of the 3 units with both Dash and Death Ride, so he's got a smaller base, so he doesn't exactly spread out his buff as much as the Wraith engine does.
That is a wise decision.
So after this layer, I'm pretty much going to be done. All that I'm going to do is go back around the base in case I got any of the gloss stuff on it and give it a nice even lip of matte varnish. Brush on varnish. And that'll pretty much be it. And I'll probably wait a few days or a week or so before I take photos just to make sure this stuff gets mostly clear. I don't mind a little bit of cloud in the photos, but sometimes it takes a few days to really, really clear up.
Is there 2 of them?
Always fun getting this stuff way underneath here. But I don't know how far in people are really going to be able to see. Knock the camera over again. So I'll just give it all a good layer under here as well.
That was done.
Build up my last layer of the soft gel. Not trying to get it very smooth. If that was a concern, I'd use a different product. But this thing's a wave of souls going through it, so it's probably gonna ripple the water pretty much. bunch of dried bits in this pot of soft gel. It's not a new pot. I leave it open as I use it, so it probably does dry out a bit. Smaller bits of dry gel in there can just blend right in with everything else on the base, but the larger pieces would stick up and not look great. So putting on a couple of layers first before putting on another layer of wash will kind of give that layer of wash a bit of dimensionality. It'll sit on top of a couple layers and be sandwiched between them. And I think that adds a little bit of a dynamic interest to the effect. Back this up. Try not to knock it over constantly. Recording device is a phone sitting on a flexible leg tripod. Not too difficult to knock over if you bump it, unfortunately. A bigger chunk here. I'm going to put it in the face. It can just be a bigger area of water. If you get a little too much down running the front of the base, I usually just kind of push it back with a fingernail. But after this, it should be pretty much done. Just gotta let it set. Piece that's dried. We'll get that under there. Spread that out. Be a little thicker right there, and that's fine. It's buried in the rest of it, so you won't see it as like a separate thing inside there. Thought about using a purple wash more where the glow is, but thought more about it and said, no, just make it darker. The glows don't make things darker. So I decided against it. We'll just leave it clear all the way down to the base where I painted it purple glow, magenta, pink. More around this reed. Up against the wave. And that'll probably be it. Kind of the lip here, so I'll just push that back up with my fingernail. It'll leave a little bit of a glossy trail on there, but that's why I go back over the edge with the matte varnish again. I bent the reeds as much as I could. They're standing up a little straighter than they were. So pretty much it. I'll take photos of this thing once it's completely dry and I'll post them. And see the window glows. And I'll post videos or photos rather when it's dry on the base.